Say less, mean more, watch what happens. You know the feeling. You try to be interesting, you talk, you explain, you stack clever lines and nothing clicks. Her eyes drift. The moment gets noisy. You walk away thinking you needed a better story, a better joke, a better version of you. Here is the truth. Attraction is not about more words. It is about the weight behind the few you choose. This video is your shortcut. We are going to break down 6 simple words and phrases that flip the script. They make her open up, they calm the room, and they turn silence into gravity. You will learn when to speak, when to pause, and how to let your presence carry more power than any performance. No tricks, just psychology and Stoic discipline you can use tonight. If you are new here, subscribe now so you do not miss the next lesson. If you have been watching for a while, you know the drill. Bring a pen. Test these lines in real conversations. Notice how much easier everything feels when you stop performing and start paying attention. Stay present, speak simply, and let the 6 words do the heavy lifting for you. This is your reset. Let's get into it. Number 1. The phrase that makes her open up. There's one line that can completely shift how a woman feels around you. It's not clever, it's not charming, it's not even about you. It's simply this: tell me more about that. Most men underestimate how powerful those 5 words are. They think attraction is built through stories, confidence, or dominance. But the truth is, it's built through curiosity. When you ask a woman to tell you more, you're giving her what she rarely gets in this world: space to be heard. Let's make this real. Brian, 55, recently started dating again after a long marriage. Over dinner with a woman named Claire, 51, he noticed something. Every time she began to open up, he'd jump in, adding his own story, his opinion, his advice. It wasn't arrogance, it was habit. But each time he did, her energy dropped. She leaned back, looked away, and changed the subject. The next time they met, Brian decided to try something different. When Claire mentioned how stressful her week had been, instead of fixing it, he paused, looked at her, and said softly, "Tell me more about that." She blinked, surprised. Then she exhaled and talked. About work, about pressure, about wanting to feel appreciated. The tone shifted. Her guard dropped. What Brian didn't realize in that moment was that attraction had already started, not because he said something magical, but because he stopped trying to impress her and started inviting her inner world forward. Here's what's happening beneath the surface. When you tell a woman, "Tell me more about that," you're signaling emotional safety. You're showing that you can handle her truth without judgment or interruption. That's a deep, masculine quality: composure under emotion. It's the same stillness Stoics trained for. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Every woman feels when a man actually lives that philosophy. Listening isn't passive, it's leadership. It tells her, "You can relax here. I'm not going anywhere." Here's what most men miss: listening isn't about collecting details, it's about presence. When she talks, don't think about what to say next. Watch her body language. Hear the tone shifts. Notice the words she repeats. When you're fully there, she feels it, and that's what draws her in. The opposite of presence is performance, and performance kills attraction. A man who's too busy trying to prove he's interesting leaves no room for connection. But the man who's quiet, curious, and steady, he becomes magnetic. So the next time she talks about something personal, work, frustrations, family tension, a past relationship, resist the urge to relate it back to yourself. Just lean in, nod, and say it. "Tell me more about that." Then stay silent. Let the pause breathe. You'll see it in her eyes, that moment when she realizes you're not waiting for your turn. You're actually there. That's when she feels seen. And that's the seed of every real attraction. When a woman opens up, it's not because you're the most interesting man in the room, it's because you made her feel safe enough to unfold. And the man who listens deeply is the man she keeps thinking about long after the conversation ends. If you've ever noticed how listening changes the energy between you and a woman, write it in the comments. I listen with presence. Stick with me because next we'll talk about a phrase even more powerful. The one that proves confidence isn't about knowing everything. It's about admitting what you don't. Number 2. The power of admitting you don't know. Most men are afraid to say these 3 words, I don't know. They think it makes them look weak, unprepared, or less intelligent. But here's the paradox. The moment you admit what you don't know, people, especially women, start trusting you more. Because confidence isn't about pretending to know everything. It's about being secure enough to own your limits. Women can feel the difference instantly. When a man is bluffing, over-explaining, or trying to sound smart, she tunes out. But when a man looks her in the eye and says calmly, I don't know, he communicates something deeper. I don't need to prove myself to you. And that quiet self-assurance, that's magnetic. In Stoicism, humility and wisdom are inseparable. Socrates, whom the Stoics deeply admired, built his entire philosophy on a single truth: I know that I know nothing. It wasn't false modesty, it was awareness. The more you realize how little you know, the more open you become to learning. That mindset makes you steady, curious, and hard to intimidate. Here's what this looks like in real life. You're on a date. She brings up something, a book, a topic, a restaurant, a random cultural reference, and you've never heard of it. Most men fake it. They nod, smile, maybe throw in a guess to keep the illusion alive. But what if instead you looked at her and said, I don't know that one. Tell me about it. That small act flips the dynamic completely. Suddenly, she's not trying to impress you. She's engaging with you. You've created space for her to contribute, to share. And in that moment, she feels seen, respected, and safe because you weren't afraid to be real. That's what authenticity feels like. And authenticity, more than charm or looks, is what creates attraction that lasts. In a world full of men who posture, the Stoic man stands apart by staying honest. He doesn't fill silence with empty confidence. He doesn't reach for answers to protect his ego. He's comfortable saying, I don't know, and he follows it with curiosity, not shame. Epictetus once said, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Every time you fake knowledge, you shut down the chance to connect. Every time you admit uncertainty, you open a door to learning, to honesty, to deeper connection. Here's another truth. Women don't want a man who knows everything. They want a man who's grounded enough to not need to, because that steadiness signals emotional maturity. It says, I don't need control over everything to feel strong. And that kind of confidence is rare. It's the kind that feels safe, the kind that draws her in. The next time you catch yourself scrambling for an answer, stop, breathe, smile. Say it with composure, I don't know. Then add, but I'd like to find out. Those words don't weaken you, they elevate you, because they show you're not performing, you're present. Women remember the men who make them feel seen, but they fall for the men who make them feel real. And nothing feels more real than honesty spoken calmly, without apology. The power of saying, I don't know, isn't about ignorance. It's about integrity. It's the language of men who no longer chase approval, they attract it by being unshakably themselves. If that truth resonates, write it in the comments. I speak with honesty. Stay tuned, because next we'll explore a phrase that goes even deeper, one that turns empathy into the most irresistible form of confidence. Number 3. How empathy sparks desire. There's one line that can turn an ordinary moment into something magnetic. It's not witty, it's not flirty, it's empathetic. The phrase is simple, that sounds difficult. It's quiet, honest, and powerful. Most men miss how effective those 3 words can be, because they're too busy trying to fix, to solve, to give advice. But here's the truth. When you stop trying to solve her problems and start acknowledging her feelings, you shift from impressing her mind to reaching her heart. Let's make it real. Michael, 58, recently met Anna, 54, through mutual friends. One night over coffee, Anna began talking about her teenage daughter and how distant she'd become since starting college. Michael listened for a moment, then caught himself wanting to offer parenting tips to help. But instead he looked at her, nodded slightly and said, "That sounds difficult." Anna paused. Her eyes softened. The tension she'd been carrying in her shoulders dropped. She smiled faintly and said, "Yeah, it really is." Then she kept talking, not because she needed answers, but because she finally felt understood. That's empathy in action. And it's the one thing most men overlook when building attraction. Because empathy doesn't just create comfort, it creates connection. It makes her feel emotionally safe enough to open up further. Here's why that matters. A woman can only desire you to the level she feels safe around you. If she doesn't feel seen or emotionally understood, desire fades fast. But when she feels that you get it, even without words, her trust builds, her guard lowers, and attraction begins to grow in silence, not effort. Stoic philosophy understood this long before modern psychology did. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." What he meant was simple empathy is not weakness. It's strength under control. It's compassion without losing composure. The Stoic man doesn't absorb emotions. He contains them. He listens without judgment, without needing to fix, without turning the moment into a lecture. That kind of grounded presence is rare and magnetic. Empathy in its purest form isn't about pity or saying, "I know how you feel." It's about giving space for her feelings to exist. When a woman senses that you can hold that space without shrinking or deflecting, something shifts. She starts to relax. She starts to trust. And trust is the foundation of attraction. Let's be clear, empathy doesn't make you soft. It makes you stable. It's not about taking on her emotions, it's about not running from them. When she's upset, when she vents, when she tests your emotional balance, that's your cue to stay calm, breathe and listen. Women remember how they feel around you more than what you say. The man who listens without trying to fix becomes unforgettable. So the next time she tells you about a rough day, don't jump in with a solution. Just say, "That sounds difficult." Then let silence do the rest. That's where connection grows, in the space you don't rush to fill. Empathy isn't weakness. It's masculine awareness. It says, "I see you, I hear you, and I'm not scared of what you feel." That's the kind of presence that doesn't just earn trust, it awakens desire. If you've ever felt how empathy changes a conversation, write it below. I lead with calm. Stay with me, because next we'll explore how silence itself can become your most powerful form of attraction. You don't want to miss this. Number 4. The seductive weight of silence. Silence makes most men uncomfortable. They rush to fill it with jokes, facts, stories, anything to avoid the tension. But here's the truth, silence is not empty. It's charged. And when you learn how to hold it, you stop chasing attention and start commanding it. The most magnetic men aren't the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who know when not to. Their presence speaks louder than their words ever could. In Stoicism, silence is power disguised as restraint. Seneca wrote, "It is better to be silent and be thought a fool than to speak and remove all doubt." But silence in the Stoic sense isn't about holding back out of fear, it's about mastering timing. It's the pause between words that makes people lean in. When you sit in silence with someone, especially with a woman you're drawn to, you create a space that feels alive. Most men destroy that space because they panic. They feel the tension rise and think they need to fix it. But the man who can stay calm in that space radiates confidence. He's not waiting for approval. He's anchored. Think about it. Silence reveals everything. Your comfort level, your control, your self-assurance. When a woman feels your quiet confidence, she doesn't see awkwardness. She senses strength. She feels your energy holding the space. That's what creates intrigue. Marcus Aurelius said, "Let silence be your general rule, or say only what is necessary and in few words." This is how a Stoic man communicates. He values presence over persuasion. He doesn't try to impress. He allows mystery to do the work. The seductive power of silence lies in contrast. Most men chase validation with noise. The rare man communicates desire through stillness. When you hold eye contact, breathe deeply, and don't rush the moment she feels something. Most men never let her feel peace inside attraction. In that quiet, she becomes more aware of you, your body language, your tone, your calm energy. You create an atmosphere where her mind slows down and her attention centers entirely on you. Silence gives your words gravity and your presence weight. But silence isn't just about attraction, it's also about control. When you master silence, you stop reacting impulsively. You don't answer right away when provoked. You don't explain yourself unnecessarily. You respond when it matters, and that makes every word hit harder. That's emotional power. That's Stoic strength. And here's the secret: silence makes people reveal themselves. When you stop talking, others fill the gap. They expose their thoughts, their insecurities, their intentions. You learn more by saying nothing than you ever could by dominating a conversation. In relationships, silence builds trust because it shows composure. You're not chasing comfort, you're creating it. You're teaching her that you can handle her emotions, her energy, and her pauses without losing your ground. If you want to embody that kind of quiet confidence, this is your moment to go deeper. Join the Stoic Brotherhood, our private community, where men train composure, self-discipline, and emotional awareness, the core traits that turn silence into power. Inside, you'll learn the daily practices that make calm energy second nature. Remember, attraction doesn't grow in noise, it grows in stillness. When you can look at her, stay quiet, and smile with certainty, she feels something words could never create. Silence isn't emptiness, it's presence. If that truth resonates, write it below. I speak through silence. Stay with me, because next we'll explore the most underestimated form of attraction: appreciation. It's simple, but it changes everything. Number 5. The words that make her feel seen. There's one phrase that doesn't just sound good, it lands. It's not about flattery, it's not about compliments, it's deeper than that. The phrase is, "I appreciate you." Now that might sound simple, but when it's said the right way, calmly, sincerely, and without an agenda, it cuts through the noise of everything else she hears. Because appreciation isn't about noticing what she does for you. It's about recognizing who she is when she's with you. Let's bring this to life. John, 56, had been dating Rebecca, 52, for a few months. Things were good, comfortable even. But one night, while cooking together, he noticed how focused she became while chopping vegetables, steady, careful, calm. It reminded him of how she handled everything in life. Instead of saying something generic like, "You're a great cook," he looked at her and said, "You know, I really appreciate how intentional you are about everything you do." She froze for a second. Then she smiled, not just a polite smile, but the kind that softens the entire face. That one sentence hit differently. It wasn't about her appearance or her effort, it was about her essence. That's the secret most men never figure out. Women crave to be seen more than they crave to be praised. Flattery fades fast, but genuine appreciation stays. Here's why it works. When you tell a woman you appreciate her, you shift the energy from validation to connection. You're no longer saying, "I like what you did." You're saying, "I see who you are." And when she feels seen, she relaxes. She doesn't have to perform. She doesn't have to impress. She can just be. That's when attraction deepens, because she feels safe in your presence. In Stoic terms, appreciation aligns with gratitude. Marcus Aurelius wrote, When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. When you live with that kind of awareness, appreciation flows naturally. You stop taking moments and people for granted. This is the heart of Stoic attraction: awareness without attachment, gratitude without neediness. You're not appreciating her to get something, you're appreciating her because you notice life. That's rare. And women can sense it. Here's what separates appreciation from flattery. Flattery tries to earn approval. Appreciation gives recognition. One is self-serving, the other is self-assured. When you say, "I appreciate you," let it be quiet, direct and real. No dramatic tone, no expectation of a response. Just truth. And notice what happens. She'll soften. Her voice will drop. Her body language will open. Because you've touched something that most men overlook: her need to be understood without explanation. Appreciation also resets how you lead. It teaches you to notice the small things, the pause before she speaks, the way she thinks, before reacting, the subtle strength she hides. Those are the details that make connection last beyond the surface. John didn't realize it at the time, but that one sentence, "I appreciate you," changed how Rebecca saw him. He wasn't just another man she was dating. He was a man who noticed. And for a woman, that's the most attractive kind of attention there is. So the next time you feel something good around her, don't just think it. Say it, quietly, calmly, with intent. Because appreciation doesn't just make her feel good, it makes her feel real. If that truth hits home for you, write it below. I see her clearly. Stay tuned, because next we'll talk about the one word that defines your strength, draws boundaries, and earns lasting respect. Number 6. The word that defines your boundaries. There's one word that will earn you more respect, attraction, and peace than any other, and it's one that most men struggle to say. That word is no. It's small, but it carries power most men have forgotten how to use. Because for years, you've been taught to be agreeable, flexible, accommodating, especially with women. You've been told that saying yes makes you kind, that being available makes you valuable. But the truth is, constant yeses make you invisible. No is not rejection, it's definition. It tells the world and her who you are, what you value, and where your line is. It's the foundation of masculine strength. In Stoic philosophy, self-control and discipline are the roots of freedom. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That mastery starts with your ability to choose. Every no you say is an act of self-respect. You're not being harsh, you're being clear. And clarity is rare. When you can say no without anger, guilt, or apology, you become grounded. You stop reacting to pressure. You stop over-explaining yourself. You communicate through calm conviction, and that's what creates attraction. Because nothing draws a woman in like a man who can hold his ground. Here's what this looks like in real life. When she tests your boundaries, maybe by asking for more time than you can give, or pushing a little too hard for your attention, most men cave. They smile, they give in, they think it's harmless. But she feels it. She feels the hesitation, the uncertainty, the energy of a man who's afraid to disappoint. Now compare that to the man who listens, smiles, and simply says, "No, I can't do that today." No irritation, no justification, just calm truth. That man is rare. And that's exactly why he's magnetic. A woman might push against your no at first, not because she wants to break you, but because she wants to feel that your word means something. When she realizes it does, she relaxes. She knows where you stand, and that makes her feel safe. Boundaries don't push women away, they create trust. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That's the Stoic code of integrity. Your no should come from that same place, not from ego, but from alignment. Here's the beauty of it. The stronger your no, the more meaningful your yes becomes. When you say yes, she'll know it's real, that it's coming from choice, not obligation. That's what gives your presence weight. Most men chase approval because they're afraid of loss. But a Stoic man understands that every no creates space for peace, purpose, and authentic connection. You don't need to please everyone. You only need to live in alignment with your values. So when the next request, favor, or invitation comes, that doesn't sit right, pause, breathe. Then say it with quiet confidence, no, and then stop talking. No excuses, no apologies, no softeners, just stillness. Because no isn't a wall, it's a door. It separates who you pretend to be from who you really are. That's why women respect it. That's why men envy it. When you can say no with peace instead of pride, you've mastered yourself, and that mastery is what makes you unshakable. If you live by that truth, write it below, I stand firm. Let's keep going, because next we'll explore what happens when silence, strength, and certainty come together to form true masculine presence. You don't want to miss this. Number 7. When less talking becomes magnetic. Every man knows someone like this, the guy who walks into a room and doesn't have to say much, but everyone feels his presence. He doesn't compete for attention. He doesn't try to dominate the conversation. Yet when he speaks, people stop and listen. That's not luck. That's composure. And it's one of the most overlooked forms of attraction a man can develop. Most men believe the way to connect with a woman is through constant talking, filling the air with jokes, stories, and clever lines. But the truth is, the more you talk, the less she feels, because attraction isn't built on noise, it's built on energy. Let's make this real. Tom, 57, had been single for years after his divorce. He thought he'd lost his charm. Whenever he went on a date, he'd overcompensate, trying to fill every silence, trying to sound confident and interesting. But it always felt forced, and the women he met seemed politely distant. Then one night he met Lisa, 54, at a friend's dinner party. This time he tried something different. He spoke slower. He didn't rush to respond. When Lisa told a story, he let the pause hang for a moment before replying. Sometimes he just smiled and held eye contact. Something changed. She started leaning in. Her tone softened. The air between them felt charged. That night, Tom didn't perform. He simply was. That's the power of fewer words. The less you talk, the more space you create for her to feel you. Your calmness becomes the attraction. In Stoicism, restraint is strength. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In the same way, stop telling women who you are. Show them through your composure, your stillness, your control. Silence isn't absence, it's presence, and presence is magnetic because it's rare. When you speak less, your words start to carry weight. Each sentence becomes intentional. Each pause becomes a moment for her to feel your energy. Most men talk themselves out of attraction because they can't handle the quiet. But when you learn to sit comfortably in it, you project confidence without even trying. Women don't fall for the man who talks the most, they fall for the man who makes them feel the most. And sometimes that happens in silence. Psychologically, this works because your stillness triggers curiosity. She starts wondering what you're thinking, how you stay so composed, why you're not rushing to fill every moment. That mystery pulls her in. Tom realized something that night with Lisa. It wasn't about what he said. It was about the feeling his energy created. When you slow down your speech, maintain steady eye contact, and breathe through silence, you send one clear message. I'm comfortable in my own skin. And that's irresistible. So next time you're in a conversation, don't rush it. Pause. Let her words linger. Let your gaze communicate what your voice doesn't need to. Say less, but mean every word you choose. Because less talking doesn't mean less connection. It means deeper connection. As Seneca once said, speech is silver, but silence is golden. And when you master that golden silence, you become the calm in a world of noise. If this truth resonates, write it below. I speak with purpose. Stick with me because next we'll talk about the sound of attraction itself, not what you say, but how you say it. The tone that commands attention without ever asking for it. Number 8. The calm tone that commands attention. There's something quietly powerful about a man who speaks with calm certainty. He doesn't raise his voice to be heard, and he doesn't rush his words to fill silence. Yet when he talks, people lean in, especially women. Because his tone doesn't chase attention, it creates it. Most men underestimate how much tone communicates. They focus on words trying to say the right thing. But it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. Your tone tells her more about you than your vocabulary ever could. When you speak quickly, your voice high and uncertain, you send one message: I need you to like me. But when your voice is slow, low, and deliberate, it says the opposite: I'm already comfortable with myself. That's where attraction begins, in the energy underneath your words. In Stoicism, this is called temperance, the discipline of measured response. It's not just about emotional restraint, it's about control of presence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." A man who controls his tone is a man who controls his state. And that self-mastery is magnetic. Your tone reveals your emotional center. It tells her if you're grounded or reactive, if you're confident or performing. The deeper and steadier your voice, the safer she feels. Because that calm energy signals stability, and stability is rare. Here's what happens when you start speaking with calm authority. People stop interrupting you. Women mirror your pace and tone. Silence no longer feels awkward. It feels intentional. A calm tone changes the emotional temperature of any room you walk into. You can feel tension dissolve simply because your presence is steady, and that steadiness becomes your advantage. The Stoics practiced this through logos, reasoned speech. They trained themselves to speak only when necessary, and to do so with calm, deliberate intent. The tone of a Stoic wasn't passive, it was poised. Think about a leader you admire, not the loud, performative kind, but the quiet ones. They rarely shout. They don't need to. Their authority comes from presence, not projection. That's exactly how your voice should work. When you slow your speech, lower your tone slightly, and breathe between sentences, you're doing more than talking, you're leading the rhythm of the interaction. You pull her into your tempo. You make her feel that being around you means slowing down, grounding, breathing easier. That's the masculine energy women crave, not chaos, not dominance, but control. The kind that says, I know who I am, and I don't need noise to prove it. Seneca once wrote, "A man who is calm is invincible." Your voice should sound like that, invincible in its stillness. Practice this. Record yourself. Notice if your words rush, if your tone rises at the end of every sentence, if your energy feels scattered. Then slow it all down. Speak like a man who has nowhere to be and nothing to prove. Because the truth is, attraction begins the moment your tone tells her, I'm safe, I'm strong, and I'm not moved by chaos. Your calm becomes her curiosity. Your steadiness becomes her trust. And the more you master your tone, the less you'll ever need to chase attention, because it will always come to you. If you live by that, write it below. I speak from stillness. Stay tuned, because next we'll explore the deeper layer of confidence, how to hold silence, stillness, and strength until desire starts moving toward you. Number 9. The confidence hidden in stillness. You can spot it instantly. The man who doesn't move unless he means to. The one who doesn't fidget, doesn't overreact, doesn't chase for attention. He can walk into a room, say very little, and still feel like the most powerful man there. That's not arrogance, that's stillness. Stillness is the quiet form of confidence. It's the energy of a man who's learned that he doesn't need to prove anything. And when a woman feels that energy, she can't quite explain why, but she feels drawn to it. Because true confidence isn't loud, it's anchored. Let's make this real. Mark, 58, works in finance. He's been divorced for a few years and recently started dating again. He met Julia, 55, through a mutual friend. On their first date, she admitted something to him. She said, "You make me nervous, but in a good way." Mark laughed and asked why. She said, "You just sit there so calm, like you're not trying to impress me. It's steady." What Julia was describing wasn't charm. It wasn't mystery. It was stillness. The energy of a man who doesn't need to move fast to feel secure. Stillness is contagious. It slows down the energy in any room. When you move with intention, when your gestures are slow and deliberate, when your breathing is calm, people naturally sink to your pace. That's what leadership feels like, not control, but command. In Stoicism, this kind of calm is the highest form of strength. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but your estimate of it." The Stoic man doesn't rush or panic because he knows his control begins and ends within. His power is internal. That's what makes him untouchable. Most men lose that power because they live in reaction, reacting to messages, moods, women's emotions, or the energy of a crowd. But when you stop reacting, you become rare. You become the man others adjust to. Here's the thing, stillness isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing only what matters. Every movement, every word, every reaction becomes intentional. You stop leaking energy on things that don't deserve it. Women sense that instantly. They can feel when a man is grounded versus restless. A grounded man makes her feel safe, curious, and slightly off balance because she can't read him. His calm isn't withdrawal, it's presence. He's there, fully aware but not seeking. Mark didn't know it at first, but his stillness created an atmosphere where Julia relaxed. She didn't need to fill silence or guess what he was thinking. She could just feel him. That's what stillness does. It makes connection effortless. When you're still, your body says, "I don't chase, I choose." Your presence becomes enough. And in that quiet energy, attraction grows naturally without force or games. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." Stillness is proof of that truth. You don't become calm overnight. You practice it through patience, through restraint, through awareness. So start small. Next time you're talking to someone, notice your breathing. Slow your movements. Pause before you speak. Don't rush to fill space. Let stillness speak for you. Because the more comfortable you are in your own silence, the more magnetic you become. Confidence isn't what you show, it's what you hold. If you live by that, write it below, "I move with intention." Stay with me, because next we'll close with the ultimate shift, how a few simple words can make her feel both safe and desired all at once. Number 10. The 6 words that make her feel safe and desired. Every man wants to make a woman feel desired. But few know how to do it in a way that also makes her feel safe. Most men lean too far in one direction. They either play it too cool, afraid to express interest, or they go too hard, making it feel forced. But the truth is, real attraction lives in the space between desire and security. And that's where these 6 words come in: quiet, powerful, and unforgettable. I like being here with you. That's it. 6 words. Simple but filled with presence. When you say this, not as a line, not as a tactic, but as truth, it communicates everything she wants to feel, that she's seen, that you're calm, that you're not chasing or performing, but choosing to be exactly where you are. Because what women crave most isn't intensity, it's certainty. The certainty that your desire isn't driven by impulse but intention. When you can express that in a grounded way, attraction turns into trust. Let's bring this to life. Robert, 59, met Vanessa, 55, through a local hiking group. After their 3rd hike together, they stopped for coffee. The conversation slowed, and the air felt comfortable but charged. Instead of trying to fill the moment, Robert looked at her steady, warm, and said, I like being here with you. No cleverness, no overthinking. Just calm sincerity. Vanessa smiled, looked down for a moment, then met his eyes again. Me too, she said quietly. That's what connection sounds like when it's built on authenticity, not performance. The reason those words work is because they balance vulnerability with strength. You're expressing desire, but without pressure. You're not taking anything from her, you're offering your presence. That's the masculine energy most women crave, desire that's directed, not desperate. In Stoicism, this is the practice of measured expression. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. In other words, know your intention before you act. When you speak from intention, when your desire is rooted in calm awareness, it becomes safe. These 6 words are a statement of presence. You're not projecting into the future. You're not trying to define what comes next. You're anchoring her and yourself in the moment. And here's the deeper psychology. Women equate calm with safety and presence with passion. When she feels your energy grounded, she lets hers rise. She relaxes into the connection because she senses she's not being pulled or judged. It's not the words alone that matter, it's the tone. Slow, certain, no rush. When you say them right, you're communicating confidence without a single ounce of control. What makes this even more powerful is what you don't add. You don't explain. You don't follow it with, because you're beautiful or because I'm having fun. You let it breathe. The silence after those 6 words is where the connection deepens. That's the moment she realizes she's with a man who knows what he feels and isn't afraid to express it. A man who doesn't need to impress her because he's already present with her. I like being here with you. It's calm, it's steady, it's real. When spoken from truth, it becomes more than a phrase, it's an experience. It tells her she's desired not for what she gives, but for who she is. And when a woman feels both safe and desired, that's when attraction turns into connection, the kind that lingers long after the moment ends. Because words may fade, but presence, real presence, stays. In this video, we explored how just a few simple words spoken with calm confidence can change the way people feel around you. You've learned how presence, tone, and stillness create attraction that's real, not forced. When you speak less but mean more, you stop chasing attention and start commanding it. If you're ready to go deeper to master Stoic confidence, emotional discipline, and masculine presence in every area of your life, join the Stoic Brotherhood, our private community for men who lead with strength and self-control. And if you found value in today's lesson, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Thank you for watching. Stay grounded, stay calm, and I'll see you tomorrow.